Hello again. So,
I'm Michael.
I'm Jamie.
And today we're
gonna do number 5.
Hierophant.
De Pope.
The Hierophant.
De Pope. Today is De Pope.
Yes.
Or, as they said back in the old days, how do you pronounce this in Italian? Il Hierophant.
Sure.
So, before Waite called it the Hierophant, this was actually called the Hierophant. This is like from, what was that from? 1893.
There you go.
He was already calling it the Hierophant. Okay, so.
Shall I?
How do you want to do this today?
Do you want me to start us off and then you can?
Go for it.
All right. So, the Hierophant.
Oh, you're going to start with the Rider-Waite? I'm going to switch over here and bring me up a Rider-Waite.
Go with the tried and true first.
Okay.
So he's got these 2 pillars, which you'll notice, but these are not the pillars from the High Priestess card. Remember hers were black and white?
Yeah.
His is both gray. So we've moved past that polarities, and now it's kind of a blending of a higher level of understanding, which fits well because he is like a spiritual teacher.
Okay.
So with 5s and such, you think of like the pentacle, and there's the 4 earthly elements, and then the 5th point is like, hey, there's something more, right? And so that's really what he's all about. He's the...
Well, hold on. Let's go back to the pillar. Did you move past the pillars already?
Oh, yeah. I was making my way around, but
okay.
do you have a point? Yeah, go for it.
I do.
Yeah,
so originally the pillars, when you see pictures from the 15th century, the pillars are just the back of his chair.
Right.
They're not even pillars. They're just the back of his chair, and that's why they look like this.
So in the old...
in the elder days.
In the elder days.
And here's another one. This is the Oswald Worth, and which and here we go. This is the Jean Noblet. That is that is the first tarot deck. That's 1659.
Okay, so originally a chair.
But
became pillars. Definitely pillars by Rider-Waite Smith.
Well, he adapted it because again, Oswald came along. About the same time. When was Oswald?
A little bit earlier.
His was produced in 1926 was when his was mass produced. He did his in 1860.
The Worth ones?
1887 is when he started it. He was asked to start to create the deck by blah 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 Stanislaw, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce. I know. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So a chair. All right. Fine. So it
did evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. And even back then, I mean, this chair looks like, these chair arms, or what are they? Chair backings? Yeah. Chair posts.
We don't have them on ours.
No, but they do look like pillars. Anyway, but the idea is that the gray being not the black and white, but like a meshed gray. And you kind of see that same kind of idea with the checkered pattern going on there too. It's just that same idea of the blending of black and white. We're teaching you now, but again, unlike the High Priestess, there's no veil. So it's his teaching is for everyone. Mm-hmm. He's not a gatekeeper. He's saying, if you want to learn, I'll teach you. So it's the gray. When you see gray color especially in the Rider-Waite Smith deck, it usually means wisdom. It's that blended, not just black and white, but gray is the reality. So, and then he's got that hand signal, which is, the as above, so below, which...
It's a gang sign.
No. It means basically what you see is not... all that there is. It's the distinguishing the manifest from the concealed part of the doctrine. So it's basically that 5th point again. It's right. Here's the material, and but wait, there's more. It's the spiritual. So he's got that hand signal, which further emphasizes him as a teacher or a translator, if you will, of the arcane and the mysterious and the spiritual, that whole nother level that he's going to teach you about. And then also important is the keys.
Well, here, the hand signal is interesting because you see with the Rider-Waite, he does have it, where he's pointing it like that.
Yeah.
Whereas you can see, when he's actually doing the BFK, or, when he's actually doing the whatever, what do you call that? When he's like...
It's not blessing.
The BFK, the blessing, yeah. So you can see on the older cards... right on down to, even in Italy.
They all have that, the two fingers up, two fingers down.
1893, until finally Waite comes along. And here we have...
Waite continues it.
Yeah.
Though. So that's something that's been around since the very early decks. He's always got the two fingers up, two fingers down. So it's...
with that cross on his hand, which you can't see here.
Right.
But the big thing here also with the Rider-Waite, and as they moved along, is that they wanted to get rid of that whole Catholic thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, and that's some people will even say that on Rider-Waite, even though Waite was very much a Christian and that was okay with him, even on this deck, like the Pope here, he's very androgynous looking. I mean, it might be another hint at Pope Joan. I don't know, but that's not no beard and a very feminine looking face to me. So.
Well, I think that because Pamela Coleman Smith coming from the theater, I don't know if it's androgyny or just like supposed to be a younger person, but it might be.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely no beard.
It definitely looks
like the Marseille. He's got like a full beard. I mean, it's no doubt this is definitely a guy, but yeah, it starts to make you wonder. Yeah. But anyway,
but still has the triple crown.
Yeah. So the triple crown and the triple cross wand here. There's so it's body, mind, and spirit, that kind of thing, but also. The lowest level is you're converting the masses. The middle level is judgment, and the highest level is your rewarding of the virtuous. So there's that triple hat and the triple wand, very important. And I carried it over for the deck that I'm creating. So mine is like not a pope. And I was playing with calling him a shaman as opposed to a Hierophant, but I think I'm gonna stick with Hierophant. But he's got like he looks more like a shaman. He's got like he's got antlers and kind of like
like the Robin Hood deck. Have you seen that?
Yeah, something similar to that. But then I've got like instead of the wand or with the crosses, the triple cross. I've got a totem stick,
right? And
with 3 levels of totems, and so I've got the lily and the rose on the lowest rung, which you'll see there's lily and roses on the devotees down there on most of the decks.
So I just threw a tarot deck on the floor because Michael's not going to show us his deck until it's done.
Not until it's done.
I've seen it.
One of the few.
But so when you said that, so as the shaman, I didn't pull out the newer decks.
Yeah. Well, while you're there,
we
go. Yeah.
So you can show yours, and I'll.
So this is the shaman's has been done before, and my deck will be somewhat in that spirit.
So you've given yours the antlers also, like the Robin Hood?
Yep.
I'm sorry, that's the magician.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Exactly. So yes.
So like the magician of that deck.
Let me see.
What did he do for?
I'm looking for his bolt. his shaman.
But to continue on what I was saying, the totem stick that I have. So I've got from the first rung a lily and rose. Which represents the lily, death, the rose, life, or mind, the lily, and heart, the rose, that kind of thing. And then on the second tier, I've got a feather and a bone, other totems that represent accomplishment and persistence, and then a sun and a moon on the top rung to represent the masculine and feminine and that kind of thing. So I've got like a totem stick instead of like a more Christianized triple cross, but still the symbology, carries through just in a different context.
Right.
So I'm also trying to shy away from the Christian
Which is
symbols.
funny because I was thinking with the Robin Wood deck, it's like for some reason I was thinking that was the Pope, but it's like that's about as Christian as you're going to get.
Wow, so this is the Robin Wood deck. Yeah, that's a very Pope-looking Pope.
So I've seen another one with the shaman that's got, and so I can't remember which one it was, but that's
the magician.
And I know I was thinking about the magician there.
Yeah.
But
that's going to be his magician will be similar to my Hierophant. Yes.
That's cool.
And okay, and some other extras that I'm including are I've got a third eye on his hat to kind of assist with the spiritual awakening, connection to the divine, which he's teaching all about.
Yeah.
And then I've got a spider that's coming down to weave a web, and much like a teacher will weave a web of stories and parables and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the symbology before. And then I've got one other extra. I've got a raven, which is the bird that is capable of speech. So again,
okay. And does that also have anything to do with the Norse mythology? Or?
No, this is more of like a death of misconceptions.
Edgar Allan Poe.
No.
Doesn't say Nevermore on it.
No.
Can we have a little word bubble?
No. I'm trying to get the only words will be the titles. But,
okay.
But yeah, the idea that the raven is a bird that's capable of speech. So it's a death of misconceptions. You're teaching, you're providing wisdom, and so that I thought, throw a raven in there. And I just love, as much animals and things as I can get in there. Right. So I've got that in there too. But yeah. So the different layers. But going back to the keys, I skipped over. I wanted to mention that. So in most decks, even some of the earlier ones, you'll have a gold and silver key, which is very traditional to what a pope has. It's like the keys to heaven and hell, but it can also be the solar gold and the lunar silver. So it's again those dualities that he's kind of joining together to provide that additional layer of understanding. He's removing the veil and he's telling you the secrets, and but he's doing it in a way that is like he's higher. Get it? Hierophant.
Oh my gosh.
but he's like on this platform. His devotees down here are on a lower platform. They're lower than him. He's not even looking at them. He's looking straight out. But it's that. So there's definite hierarchy going on there. He's definitely, there's structure and order, which is very prevalent in the understanding of this card. That there's social order. There's tradition.
Well, yes. So when I'm reading the Hierophant or the Pope, it's about tradition. It's about following the norms in society.
The path more taken.
Right. It's about being conservative.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when I'm using the Rider-Waite, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the tonsured, that's the little things here when they shave their head. Little dudes down here. Notice they actually look like they're yoked. Like they could be pulling a chariot.
Right.
Because they are yoked to the church They are bound to it. They will do whatever, they're supposed to, because this is how they're raised.
These are rules, and you must follow them.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so they are bound in through that yoke.
Right. It's and with that, it can sometimes be a good thing. I mean, traditions are what makes life very rich.
Right.
Sometimes they need to change, but oftentimes it can allow you to be part of a group and form strong bonds. So having those traditions and that hierarchy that okay, you're the boss, I'll follow the rules, but it's not always a bad thing. I mean, when it's reversed, it can be like, the ego getting in the way and taking advantage because power corrupts. But, oftentimes when it's, this is actually a very positive card. It's just when he's in a teaching.
Yeah, and it all depends upon, of course, what I was saying. So I mean, also, so in a business, when it's a work reading, this is about following corporate rules, you've got your SOP, and so there's things that you need to do that are the norm. Right. This is about the norm, which I struggle with. Well, and so I've always had a tough time with this card.
Yeah.
And until I finally just also realized that the Pope, this person here, is also an educated person. This is a person not only seeking spiritually, but then in all reality, they're teachers. So they're actually teachers. This guy is teaching. When they get up on there. And so you can also include people who are in the sciences.
Sure.
People who are, this is the male version of the seeker, where the papist, where the high priestess is doing the spiritual stuff, and she's seeking, for that spiritual, that intuition, that upper sense. To me, I see the Pope also as somebody who's seeking, what's around them, because they're in control of everything here.
I never really thought of it as a seeker before. I thought of it more of like the devotees, the guys down here, the monks. They're seeking, but he's kind of like, okay, you have sought me out. I'm going to tell you things.
But he has so he's the Pope, and he is the ultimate teacher, which means he's the ultimate seeker.
When you put it that way. Yeah, that's a good point.
He is the ultimate seeker, the ultimate learner, and now he is going to offer
his progress. Yeah.
So if I am a owner of a business, I have learned, I have seeked, I have created what I have, and now, you follow my rules, and this is what I have to offer.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. It's that's a different way of thinking about it, but one that totally works. So cool. See, we're teaching each other all the time. Well, I think this is actually a pretty appropriate card for us, because you teach me things, I teach you things, and we're teaching everybody out there that are watching in our feed. So this is, this is.
Or if they want to make any comments, I am here to learn.
Oh, hey, Ace says hi.
Cool. I need to pull up my Twitch thing. So yes, I'm being a bad Twitch person. I'm on Twitch and Facebook, and I'm
Jimmy's on all of these.
Yeah. Come here, I'm going to start twitching. Parking lot.
But yeah, well, I've got some additional fun tidbits.
What have you got? I haven't even guessed.
Go
ahead.
I'll continue. So yeah, going back to the rose and the lilies, which I had on my totem, but they're actually on these guys' shirts too.
Yep.
The whole desire, the rose, and the lily being reason, or
purity.
Yeah. Heart and mind. I mean, there's a lot of different. I mean, you'll see these even on the back of the card, you'll see the roses and the lilies. It's definitely carries through many of the cards, but
Right.
But it's that extra. I wanted to make sure that I had those included, but I didn't have them on my devotee guys because I didn't make mine monks. They're just a male and a female in regular clothing. So I instead I put them on the rose and the lily as well as other things on that triple totem stick that the shaman here, Hierophant.
I almost said the Pope.
Yeah, well,
so you're going to call him the Hierophant, as you were saying.
Yeah.
But he's going to be
dressed like a shaman.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's all about that building on earthly establishments to
regardless,
bring to that spiritual
he is
level.
Our connection
To the higher.
between the earth and heaven. So
Exactly.
he is that go-between. He's the one that actually presents our words and our offerings to the higher power.
Right, exactly.
He can hear the voices. He hears voices.
Well, I suppose, yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be whether you hear voices or whether you got the front row to God, or
Well, they say that praying is talking, meditation is listening.
There you go.
Yeah.
But they both get you to the same place, sort of.
Well, if
Just different.
if you're not listening, it's like you can be offered. It's like getting everything you want. It's like you don't hear it though. You choose not to see the gifts before you.
Right.
What you want and what you need is two different things. But if you sit down and shut up and listen,
Right.
you might see what you need instead of crying about what you don't have.
Yeah.
What you
Right.
think you want.
Right. Yeah, it's that getting past the ego again. It's centering and calming and saying, what is my desire, but what is the will, what is the purpose that I should be focusing on, and that sometimes takes meditation or prayer in order to discover that, because it's not always people are usually not always aware of that without some contemplation.
Right. So, and like you said, I mean, I think that's a good way to put it, is that because of the ego, being willing to let go.
Right.
I mean, who wants to actually, admit when they don't know something? I mean, that's tough to do.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
So being willing to let go, being willing to let somebody else drive or take charge.
Yeah.
So that's another really important thing about this card. Again, because I'm such a rebel, blah, 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 I don't want to let go. But it's like, in reality, it's like letting go of the ego and letting somebody else be in charge. That's hard to even come off my tongue.
I know. It's
and you know that for me.
Oh, totally.
Oh man, he knows it from experience.
But I'm much a kindred spirit in that way. I think most creative people are, because we are all about breaking rules. It's show me the rules so that I can break them. That's the creative impulse, is wanting to do that, is to set yourself, is to be the nonconformist,
Yep.
And so a card like this is harder for people like us to embrace, but yet at the same time it's a card that we should be identifying with, because we are teachers. It's just in our own nonconformist path, we like to share that.
Right.
So it's like, I don't want to be the devotee. I want to be this guy.
Right.
I want to, but that's an interesting thing also. This is the first card of the majors where there's more than one person. There's more than just one archetype. There is more people here. So it's really about the dynamic as opposed to just one thing. It's both teacher and student, or students. It's that whole joint.
Well, we've worked up to this point, so
Yeah.
the cards are in order for a reason. I mean, in the game of trumps, I mean, let's face it. If you look at the Emperor is austere, and he's got like a stone throne or whatever. It's like, but I mean, there was civil war going on between the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope. When these cards were first being designed.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, if you did not realize who was in charge, then you could get drawn and quartered and then killed.
Right.
So when these cards, they have this order going there, and not only is this like the card that introduces the first time it introduces other people, this is also the last, the 5. And then moving on, we move into concepts.
Right.
So here we have people, we have a fool, we have the magician,
yep.
We have the empress, we have the emperor, we have the pope. These are people. Then after that, we move to the lovers.
Right.
We move to the
ideas.
Yeah, we move exactly.
Yeah.
Chariot, and then it should be justice. But this,
well,
I don't know how we're going to handle that, because I really want to take my Rider Waits, and I use them all the time. My Smith cards, I should say.
Yeah, right.
My Smith cards. And I'm actually going to photocopy this, and I'm going to change on the strength. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
You just
we're gonna battle that one.
I'm with you. I in my deck, I'm sure you'll be happy to know, I definitely have Justice coming first. I mean, it makes more sense, and that's the way that
that's the way everybody else did it.
Yeah. I mean, the only one that didn't was Wait. And then a whole bunch of decks, because it was the most popular deck, did it that way. But if you look at the Crowley, it doesn't do it that way. If you look at the Marseille, it doesn't do it that way. The Worth doesn't do it that way. Like all the rest,
they follow the traditional.
They follow the traditional. Yeah, it's just that they're trying. Waite was trying to link it to astrology. And there's really no need.
This astrology, the Kabbalah, they had all these different things.
Well,
and another thing is because, he did insert blinds.
Well, that too, yeah.
He intentionally screwed around with the cards.
Because he was trying to keep his oaths.
Keep the Golden Dawn
oaths.
As opposed to Crowley, who, it's like, hey!
I'll tell you exactly. And talk about, a teacher. Yeah, Crowley's like, forget it. All those oaths out the window, they don't mean anything to me. I'm going to let you know all the truths. The veil is down. So, yeah, gotta tip the hat to Crowley. As bad as he was, he's also really good.
So, and another thing, so as we talk about being rebels and all this wonderful stuff and having difficulty with the cards, so also the Swiss, what year did this come out? It was sometime just after 1831. So they wanted to get away from Catholicism and everything else.
Yeah.
So in 1831, you start seeing like Swiss decks, Italian decks, things like that. They start removing the religious beliefs, and so
out goes the Papist, and
exactly. That's Juno. Now. Here we have Jupiter.
Right. So yeah, Jupiter instead of the Pope. I love that variation.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun.
So they already started drifting away, and
then later on, like with the De Gebelin and that kind of, and the later decks, they were saying, well, we still don't want to go Pope, so let's just call him a High Priest.
Oh, that's because who was it? Who was that? The idiot. So yeah, it was Court de Gebelin.
He's not an idiot, but
no. Yeah. Hold on, who was it? Who? I forgot. It's like it's Attila. Oh, that's right. So after De Gebelin, Attila, who decided, he invented the whole thing about the Egyptians. He invented it from whole cloth. He absolutely
saw connections.
Okay, he was a con man.
Here we go.
So
I respectfully disagree.
I know.
I think that he's seeing connections that, you know, were they originally the intentions of the deck creators from the earlier incarnations? No, I'll grant you that. But does that mean that what he's seeing, if you know, when we look at a tarot card and you're always like reading from the deck that you're, you know, reading from, right? And so if you're reading from Rider-Waite or you're reading from the Hello Kitty deck, you're gonna read it differently depending on the images that you see. So not Worth. Who was it?
It was de Geblin's the first one that brought it up.
Yeah. So
Count de Geblin.
Okay. So de Geblin saying, hey, you know, I'm looking at this Marseille deck, and it's reminding me, I'm seeing these things that remind me of the Egyptian knowledge that I am well schooled in. And so for him to with authority say, oh, this is definitely the Book of Thought, this is the Egyptian secrets or whatever. No,
that's what he said.
I know, and I agree with you.
So he took what de Geblin said and he ran with it whole.
I totally agree with you that's his is what he sees isn't necessarily the what actually was or was intended. Obviously not, but that doesn't take away from the power that he saw. Just like when we see things and it becomes part of the reading, he saw things and it became part of the lore. So I don't see him as trying to con anybody. It's just he's adding his intuition, and other people are saying, I like that, and I'm gonna carry on with that.
But to me, that's making excuses for what he did. No, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was selling books.
Sure.
You know, he was doing all this stuff.
You gotta live. You gotta eat.
Yeah. So.
But that doesn't.
I mean, he was writing books. He wrote the book "How to Entertain Yourself with a Deck of Cards Called Tarot."
That was
buy my book.
Right. And it was, and thank goodness he did, because that's the first time that we have written proof that tarot cards were used for divination. Before that, it was all rumor. Now, I strongly suspect that these cards were used for divination much before then, but we don't have any written proof. So here, he's got a book. It was published.
Actually, I think there was an edict saying something about using them for fortune telling. I forgot, so don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Because I can look it up.
Yeah, please. I thought I thought he was the first written proof.
It was either de Geblin or him though, and it might have been de Geblin again because he's the one that started coming up with this, and then before everybody else ran with it. But either one of the two talk about how they first saw when they were in Italy somebody practicing fortune telling with the cards.
Sure.
And
I mean, it makes sense.
And when he started studying them, that's when he started coming up and saying, "Hey, this looks like a hieroglyph."
Right. And I totally.
And also so because it was also Levi that all of a sudden started seeing that they started looking like the Hebrew alphabet.
Exactly. And that's and again, I don't see that as trying to pull one over or con anybody. I see that as, hey, I'm making a connection. This resonates with me, and then other people say that also resonates with me. I'm going to continue that tradition.
Yeah, but keep in mind that these guys also they were out to impress each other. They were Freemasons.
Sure.
And so they were in contact with higher beings, and so they invented a book and then said, this actually came to me from Germany. I'm in contact with these people in Germany, and they're sending me information. They said I get to be the grand poobah of this, this new order.
But I mean,
and it was all on false premises, and it was proven.
But the only objection that I have is that it's you want to write it off as completely like just being tricksters, and I do. then that's fair. You're entitled to your opinion, but I disagree. I think that it is that when you tap into your subconscious, when you hear from different spirits.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying.
If you or your subconscious or your creativity, call it whatever makes you comfortable, but if you're tapping in and receiving insight, it's just one more layer that say, hey, this is the way that I see it. That resonates with me, and then another person that comes after says, you know what, I liked Jamie's, insight, and I'm gonna continue that.
We're gonna have to do an entire episode because it always devolves into this. I know, and I love it. I absolutely love it, but it's a simple fact because when I'm looking at the history and stuff like that, so
and I love the history too.
I know.
Don't get me wrong.
But so here's the original. So this card game was created for Visconti. And
Visconti Sforza.
Yeah, so it was created for, and so a lot of these things are based on actual people. So he had a pope in his family line that, or somebody who wanted to be a pope, and then it's like because there was all these combating, it's all about politics. So apparently, I think what the story is, if I remember correctly, I think it was Pope somebody like that. But anyway, he got his butt kicked and had to leave just quietly and was never heard from again. But he is in the Visconti line, and so they think that this is another one of the cards that are a historical family card for them.
Sure. And
so from there you can see he's still this is the very first tarot card.
Yeah. Well, I mean that we have that we have.
Well, it was made as a game, and so we know that it was just pips before.
Sure.
But and where I'm going with that whole thing, just so we can wrap up that last conversation, is that I still believe that the same way I can take a pair of dice and roll them because I know numerology.
Yep.
And I can give you, I can read what those dice are saying based on how the universe lays them out.
Absolutely.
The same thing with whether it's
regular playing cards,
cracked
runes. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, these cards are so expressive.
Yeah. It's taking it just
I have no problems believing that somebody who said, okay, I don't feel like pulling out some chicken gizzards today.
Thank goodness.
I'm going to use these cards that some drunk left here. No, I mean,
Yeah, sure, sure.
The cards had to become cheap enough for the average person to get them.
Sure.
And that's when it happened, is that when, not when
they were readily available.
It's when they all of a sudden were able to be mass produced.
Yeah. No, I grant you that. It's a readily available item that can be incorporated into an oracle. Right. And so somebody did. And I'm sure that it happened way before before Gebelin wrote his book.
Right.
I mean, he was writing a book. Why? Because it had been going on for a while. It's probably since the very earliest time, but we just don't have any written proof of that. But I mean, come on. I mean, these cards are so rich.
And actually, even before de Gebelin, it was wasn't it? What was de Gebelin? Yeah,
18th.
No, it was
18th century.
Attila. That's the one that first started doing this. Man, I get my history all mixed up, don't I? But it's Attila. So the court de Gebelin's the one that said it's the Book of Thoth and made it all whatever. But back in 17. So the cards came out in the 15th century.
Or
it wasn't until the 18th century that somebody finally started writing books and started finally doing cartomancy. Not 5,000, because they didn't even have.
But that was the.
They didn't have papaya. They didn't write them on papyrus.
But that was the point that I was making, is just because he was like in the 18th century, there was the first written proof that in his book it says, okay, these cards are used for divination.
Yeah. We are so sidetracked now.
Well, this is teaching. This is part of the thing. It's fun.
I'm with you.
But
I know, but we go down the same path each time.
And that's okay.
I know. So I'm the secular one. And I see things as being more like a Rorschach test, and culturally how you would see this at the time. And Mike's obviously more onto the magical side with a K, magic with a K, which is cool.
Right, but I think that might be making it too black and white. Like the pillars here, the gray pillars. I think it's a little bit more. There's more nuance. I think that there's I'm not just into the magic stuff. I appreciate all of the history, and I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I know you do. I know that.
You appreciate the magical stuff too, even if you discount.
Well, I let other people tell me that I'm doing magic, and it's like.
It's just
as you said, I channel. It's like I don't believe it, but
you do it.
But people say that I'm channeling something.
Exactly.
It's like, and that's fine. If I'm a radio for somebody and that's what they believe, then that's exactly what I am.
Exactly. And to say that and as artists, we're constantly creating things, musically, visually. However you want, all that's magic. That is magic. So whether you choose to label it that or not, it doesn't change the fact that we're both magicians.
I got you. I totally get what you're saying.
But going back to the whole like when it all started, I mean, to me it's too incomprehensible to have cards like these that are as rich and symbolic as they are and not to be utilized for that.
Right.
So, I mean, for it to be all the way into the 18th century, like, no, that's just the first time it was written down and said, I'm going to make a book talking about the divination of these cards. But that doesn't, but I strongly believe that had been going on for
well, I truly believe that once the first deck came out,
shortly after,
I have no problem believing that by the mid 17th century, as the decks come out, people are going to start seeing things, and it's like I can't help but see amazing patterns whenever I lay out more than four, more than one. I see one card, but I mean, you lay them out, and all of a sudden it's like because I am. A musician, an artist, a singer, a poet, a writer. I see this story laid out, so I can't be the first one, obviously.
Yeah, it's just so intuitive that they would be used this way.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer, and even going back before the tarot to like things like the what's it called, the Mantegna that the tarot was based off of.
Are you talking about just the pips?
No. So before the tarot, there were there was this
before the tarot. So describe. So you had Tarocchi. That was the game.
Before that.
Before you had Memblock or MU something or another, which was just pips.
Here, I'll tell you what. I know exactly.
He's going over to my library.
Yes, indeed. Fortunately,
I have an extensive
Jamie's got
library.
the information that I'm looking for readily available. But this is the first one,
right? That's the first one.
Okay, good. So back before the tarot, there was, where were they?
Because I know that in the Middle East we brought them across.
The Mantegna cards. So the Mantegna cards, which were like not true tarot, although many of the cards looked.
Oh yeah. So yes.
So these cards. Let me just hold it up real quick. So these cards are like you had the virtues.
Right.
You had the muses. You had all these like things, and many of these archetypes became.
So what was the year for these that these were created?
Yeah, so this was like the precursor.
The earlier types of Tarocchi.
Right. So it's not tarot proper, but it's
Before examining in detail the incomplete 74 Visconti pack, it's interesting to note the various different types of packs in the Tarocchi family, mainly Italian and French. So I mean, you're saying these are pre, and that's why I'm trying to look for the date on here. I don't remember.
Let me find the date. I knew it jumped out here, but going back like, yeah, 1470.
Okay.
So these go back real far. So I mean, and these look at the rich, you know, the muses and the things, and it'd be so easy to read with.
But the Visconti is 14. So they're yeah. So I mean, it's all tied together. Right. I know exactly. I know that there's other. I thought you were saying like 100 years before.
Oh no, not that far.
Okay.
No, 100 years before, or like, you know, thousands of years. It was bones. It was runes.
No. That's where you're talking about the cards that were in the Middle East. That's where soldiers and merchants brought across the original pips.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
they didn't come from the Romani.
No.
Just in case anybody wants to know, flat out, you can actually go to the homepage for Romania, and they talk and look up the word tarot, and they talk about the fact that is actually brought up for pop culture reasons.
Right.
That or as a derogatory thing for fortune tellers coming to town, but that they acknowledge there that it's a rich part of their history, but they didn't invent it. Not really.
Well,
it's a newer, because, you know, again, it got popularized that they were fortune tellers and things like this.
Yeah.
But
they weren't the only ones.
So they adopted it.
Sure.
But again, they were not the ones that brought it across.
Right.
So
yeah, historically, I mean, we know now,
and we know that for a fact. Yeah. I mean, it's documented.
Like we know it's Italy. You know, early.
And by Romani, it's a derogatory term, also gypsy, which is now considered derogatory.
Right. Because you're gypping them.
Yeah, that just became
money.
Kind of like a quote unquote, you know, an early pop culture kind of thing.
Right.
To say they did, but they didn't, and it's proven.
They didn't invent it. They didn't bring it across. That is true. They obviously did read.
Right,
cards.
But
they weren't the only one.
Case, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
No, this was already happening in Italy,
exactly,
and things like that. So
France, yeah,
and as a matter of fact, the cards were invented in Italy,
right,
and then also started getting produced in France and then Swiss. So that means that they would have had to come from. You know, whether it was India, they say that, you know,
China,
the gypsies. As the travelers came across, they would have to first come to Italy.
Yep.
Because the cards weren't produced outside of it.
Right.
Or France, because they weren't produced outside. So they came in, and then they could branch out from there.
Yep.
See?
Yep. No, I
logically, that's the only way it could have happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have had to come in and say, I've got an idea for this Visconti tarot, and I want you to paint these really expensive cards.
But it makes a great present.
Yes. So anyway.
Yeah. What are we?
More interesting stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So, going back to talk more about the Pope, I don't mind being sidetracked if we want to talk about.
No. We
history.
So, what else have you got on the Pope?
The Pope. So, yeah, I think we pretty much covered all the main elements. I rushed through them, you know, at the beginning there, but I think I hit, pretty much all the major points. The Pope is, you know, it's all about the fifth breaking it's active disruption of stability by revealing a new dimension to thought. is what the fives are all about. Even, you know, if you look at the other pips.
Well, yeah, going into the numerology, because I was going to start bringing that up.
Yeah, please.
Which is the interesting thing, because fives are about challenges and instability.
Exactly. So you're taking that stability, that structure of here's the four, you know, elements, here's here's the earthly plane, and now, wait, there's more. There's here, I'm going to talk about the, you know, as above, so is below. So now we're going to talk about the above. And I'm going to break you out of your material way of thinking and reveal the higher plane, if you will.
Right.
That's what he's teaching. Is he's helping you to the next phase.
So and the fun part about, okay, if we're going to look at the numerology,
yeah, please,
is how do we take something that is so conservative and so stable and call it a 5?
Right.
And for me then, okay, what would make that? Because well, it's if you are chaos,
mm-hmm.
if you are a person who is living on the edge and not following nature and rule, then the Pope and the 5 card is instability for you, and it is a challenge, because to break free of your chaotic nature and allow somebody else to take control is chaos in your own personal life. So that's, like you say, if there's something there, I go by the cards.
Oh yeah, that's
I go by the cards, and so I am not, somebody said there's a reason why he's a 5. So for me, that is my justification, because if you are chaotic, if you are if you are already unstable, then this 5 is just going to throw you out because it's so unnatural. This is like the one thing that's just going to break you.
Is learning about,
it's prison. Let's face it. This could also be a warden.
That's definitely a new way of seeing it.
But he could be a warden, couldn't he?
With the prisoners below him, yeah, sure. It's that structure.
It's the structure. It's the stability. It's the conservative nature. It's like, you have broken the law. I am now going to teach you
the law.
Because penitentiary. Because penitentiaries. You know where the term penitentiary comes from? Penitence. And so the goal in a penitentiary, like the one that's in Pennsylvania, I think it's the first one they call it penitentiary, is that they would put you in there and they would isolate you in there so that you could do penance. So you can pray to God.
Sure.
You would have a little plot of land in the back.
Think about what you
prison.
Yeah.
And you
think
would,
about what you've done.
Get in touch with nature, and you would do. It's when they started throwing 50 people in one cell that became the problem. But a penitentiary is called because of penitence.
That makes perfect sense.
If we look at that, then by causing chaos in the criminal's life, or the person who is breaking the norms,
right?
Then we are causing instability and challenge until they conform.
So he could be a warden.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's how
that's a different way of.
That's how I break into the 5, because I love the numerology of it. I think that following 1 through 10, and I'm not the type of person who says, okay, 11 is actually 2. 1 and 1 equals 2. I believe in the cycles of 1 through 9, and then 0. You have the 1 0, and then which is the completion.
Right.
So 1 through 9 is the action, then 10 is the completion.
Yep.
Then you have a whole brand new cycle to go through, whether it's reincarnation or anything like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So the way I see it is much the same. Like it's cycles. So when you get to 12, for example, it's just 2, but on a next level. Right. So it's the same lesson or the same meaning from the first time, but just like on a deeper, richer level. And with my tarot, I am actually having 3 layers because, as you know, I'm including a whole bunch of extra cards to make it a 100-card tarot. So not only do we have 2 layers as as most normal tarots do, but I've got 3 layers. So my majors go up a little bit higher. So you're getting a whole nother round of here's the basic meanings. The single digits. Mm-hmm. Here's the double digits, and with the 1 plus the number. So it's like, so for example, for 12, it's the 2 again, but like on the next level. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to have, after that comes the 22. So it's the second, the second or the third round, I guess it would be at this point, the third level up. And then what's that same message, but it's powered up. It's just like one more level of meaning and enrichment. So it's getting fun.
Right. So generally we try and keep this an hour. I know that there's probably a couple people.
Oh yeah,
there's some people.
Wow, we flew through that one.
Twitch, YouTube, whatever. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
From the beginning of my feed, and I don't know if Ace is still watching, but he was saying he had a question about. Oh, he had a question about. A relationship, and we for our Wednesday readings we don't do any readings. We just talk about the cards. But if you find me up later, Ace, I'd be happy to give you a reading. I'm Offbeat Artwork on Twitch, and I constantly, well, not constantly.
Oh yeah, Artie Forever. He's an artist, so let's plug that. So he's got Artie Forever is where you can go actually see.
ArtieForever.com. Yep. Is me. And MyTarot.org is Jamie. Yep. So you can find us both out there on the interwebs and hit us up for various things that we do.
So if there's no questions, then why don't we go on? So I'm just gonna. Are you ready to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, if we're at the end of our hour, do you want to call it a night, or do you want
no? I still want to go into. So how do we actually read the card, and then what do you say we do a quick, just example?
Okay.
Boink.
We're doing an extended version for tonight, so because we're just got so sidetracked and we're having so much fun.
Well, this is what I like doing during each one anyway. Is that first it's like when I'm reading the cards, it doesn't matter who I'm, what deck I'm using or anything like that. I adapt to the deck, I adapt to the culture of the person, so that we all need to speak a language that people understand.
Absolutely.
As we discuss this, it's like, I still always use what I call, and this is my method, what the fool sees. When I'm looking at this card, if I'm going to use it in a reading, what the fool sees, he doesn't have any idea about, what other than he probably knows who the Pope is because he's scared of him, but he also sees that as a fatherly figure, somebody, he gets charity from the church.
Sure, yeah.
So he gets things given. So the fool's going to, so when you look at this, it's actually seeing somebody who's benevolent, somebody who's probably kind, who offers direction.
But just as a side note, the whole family dynamic, that's another way to read that card, because it's all about a dynamic with the Hierophant on top and the 2 devotees on the bottom. It's that interplay between the different people in the card. So that could be, like you said, a prisoner and a warden. It could be a family, a father figure and children, or it could be many different things depending on the reading. But it's that structure, that relationship.
Yeah, for the Pope. So,
but it could definitely be a family.
Yeah. So let's do like a 3-card example and see how the Pope reacts with the other cards around it. Part of me wants to do it on the Rider-Waite because this is such a heavy, I'm sorry, on the Marseille.
Okay.
But I'll do it on the Rider-Waite because that's the more popular. So I'm just going to take a couple cards here, and then Michael, if you want to do it afterwards, also that's it. Now
Sure,
this deck is got reversals in it. It's the 1972 version, and so here we go. So we have the Pope here. So if we're doing the layout, we have the Pope, which we know can be about stability, institutions. It could be about somebody in charge. So if we lay
what do we got
cards out. Oh, okay.
Can I show my feed real quick?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So while Jamie's contemplating, this is what he has to work with. The reversed Pentacles and the King of Wands here are on either side of the Hierophant.
So
it was like that.
No, it's a reverse
like
pentacle first.
Okay,
because
gotcha.
he's staring at the Hierophant.
Right.
So wow. So immediately when I see this, I see the rebel son, the kid who's irresponsible with money.
Sure. Breakdancing.
He's out there just partying and having a good time. And I look over here at this father who's like, I am going to just take you and I'm going to take this wand and I'm going to beat you with it.
Oh, jeez.
But there's an intermediary here.
Right.
So if I had this here, I would be asking, is there an issue where two people where somebody is acting irresponsible? If you're
Sure.
angry, is this somebody maybe at work that you think might be, and somebody that you would really like to take a stick and beat them with it?
the young, dancing on his head Page of Pentacles and the King of Wands looking over like, with the
right.
Hierophant in the middle.
So I would simply plainly look at this and say, look, there needs to be an intermediary in between here. You're not going to be able to solve this because if I look at the king closely, he looks angry in this situation.
Right.
And come on, the page is oblivious. and so the Pope is holding up one hand here saying, oh, hold on. And he's got his little staff over here and he's almost like holding his hands out saying, hold on a minute, hold on. And so the king is going to talk to the Pope. The Pope is going to sit there, or the Hierophant. The Hierophant's going to listen. And maybe this is like, I was going to say maybe this is the page and this is the king, and it's like,
oh, wow. Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they're listening because we can see right here, see the red that he's got here and all this, and we've got the yellow here that the king does. So maybe this is their subconscious. Maybe this is their subconscious. This is the red for him, and their subconscious is actually listening to an intermediary. And so to solve what's going on here, who is it? Whether it's a issue at work, then is there a manager?
Sure.
Or the owner? Or if it's at home, is there somebody that that your son respects? Or that your brother, your family member, your sister, is there somebody that they respect? And can you talk to this person and then have this person talk to them? That's how I would read that.
That's
how the Pope becomes something else.
Right on. All right. Well, let me do a quick one, and then we can call it a night. So while Jamie steps out here, let me do a quick thing here. So we've got the. I'm going to do a 3-card spread just like Jamie, using the Hierophant in the middle. And let me just do a quick 2 cards to either side.
Okay.
And for me, interesting. So I've got on for my spread, let's see here, he's in the middle. So I have the Knight of Pentacles and the reversed, was it reversed? It was reversed, right? The reversed Hermit. So, interesting. So I've got, again, he might be the intermediary this time, but it's a totally different vibe to this one.
Absolutely.
So we've got the Knight who looks like he's looking over at the Hierophant, like he's come to also learn, maybe even paying his dues with the coin that he's offering. You know, he's here to learn, and he's got full attention on the Pope, or the Hierophant, as it were. However, the Hermit on the other side of him is looking away, suggesting that, you know, that this authority figure might not be the final word. So not to put maybe full focus on him. He's turning away and saying, you know, as time will tell whether you're right or wrong, because, you know, that will definitely time it trumps the Hierophant, because he comes later, and it's a turning away and looking at this light that he has. So I would read this as as even though this is not reversed, I would be applying questioning to whether you want to be fully, you know, whether you want to be paying your dues to this guy and learning. It can be good. He can have, you know, he can have a lot to teach you, but just be reminded by the Hermit here that that there's always another side to the story. To every story, there's another side, and so, you know, that might be that something to pay attention to. Look at the light reversed over here. That might be worth exploring as well.
Hold on, do you want my opinion on something?
No, I don't.
Oh, can I say one thing about the two cards?
About the two cards.
About the Knight and the Pope.
Because we have a very different style of reading.
I know, absolutely, but I just want to bring up that it's like, these two are the most boring frickin' people in the world. You know what? If you need to get a job done and finished, these guys will take for frickin' ever. So the Knight of Pentacles, it's true.
He's slow
the
energy.
Knight who's
Yep,
got all 4 feet on the ground.
That's true.
Okay? And, you know, the Hierophant is like, we need to be conservative, you know, but with, like, a job like I have, it's like, you know what? If you try and, what is it they say that, perfect is the enemy of good enough. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. And that's the problem here, and that's what the Hierophant, I mean, the Hermit is saying here. Hermit reversed. Hermit's about time, patience, and everything else.
Sure.
Hermit is telling these two guys, you know what?
Let's hurry up and...
He's saying, perfect is the enemy of good enough. We got it. I'm done. I'm done with you guys. I'm going off. I'm walking away. So this is saying that...
Forget you guys.
Get off.
I'm going home.
You know what? Stop, or don't stop. Now's the time to just do it. Stop being nitpicky and just do it.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm sorry, but I saw that and it's like...
You couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't help myself. But no, he's right. What he said is absolutely 100%. I totally dug what he was saying. But I just saw these two real boring guys here. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell are they doing? They'll sit there in that position for hours. The Pope loves to talk to his congregation.
And this guy goes at a snail pace.
And that dude's just sitting there, he's like, hey, I've got all day.
But pay attention to Father Time here, or the Hermit, because he had the lesson of that reading for sure.
All right,
he's saying, time to go.
Okay, and that's what our significant others are saying because they're hungry.
Right.
So with that was awesome. And if you have any questions or anything, you can either go to Facebook, MyTarot. We both hang out there. The Facebook group MyTarot.
MyTarot.
MyTarot.org. artieforever.com if you want to look at his artwork.
Sure.
Anything else?
Twitch, it's MyTarot and Offbeat Artwork on Twitch.
Yep.
And find us out there, say hello,
Yep.
Get readings, and we'll see you on the next week.
All right, take care.
Take care.